Modern commerce. We are at it again. We're talking about building a media company part 2. I'm super excited for these episodes. We're going to talk about how we grew our podcast from 0 to 75,000 downloads combined between our two podcasts. Before we get into that, though, a quick word from our sponsors. What's up, everybody? This is John and Casey from ModCom, and I have to show you something, all right? This tool is called Wicked Reports. It's one of the best attribution tools I've ever seen because of this feature called Funnel Vision. It breaks up your ROAS into top, middle, and bottom of funnel. So I'm here in my Facebook ads account and checking out this campaign, V-Day Sale. I'd probably be cutting this thing, right? If I was looking in Ads Manager or if I was looking at First Touch Attribution, I'd be like, you suck, 0.18 ROAS. You're out. But if I look at it middle funnel, it's like one of the best closers. If I look at it bottom of funnel, it's one of the best closers. So that campaign is closing. I got to keep it running. I got to adjust the targeting in there, and I got to adjust the creative in there. You know what I'm saying, Casey?
John, if you look at the top campaign here, this 4-pack lob rolls, you can see actually the exact opposite effect. It's bringing people into the account, into this world really effectively, but it's not that closing type. So you kind of need a little bit of both, right? Like this is the Kobe. One you described as the Shack. Together, they make beautiful harmony in your ad account.
Yeah, that one's lobbing it up. The other one's throwing it down. If you want to find out which of your campaigns are Kobe's, which ones are Shacks, and which ones you should just cut entirely, don't even give them a roster spot, go to wickedreports.com and click the Book a Demo button. Casey, my guy, good to be here. How are you doing today?
Doing quite well. John, quite well. Can't complain. I'm on this other side of the screen right now. Not normal for us, but no. You know, we're rolling with the punches. That's one of the things that we do here is we just roll. How are you doing?
We punch each other a lot, first of all, and then we roll with it, right? So absolutely. It's a regular practice daily. Every time we see each other, we punch each other and then roll with it so that we can practice rolling with the punches. I'm doing good, man. Excited to be doing ModCom. Had a crazy travel week this week. I was in LA, and LA is like, dude, it's like such a strange place now. Like, and I was in like West Hollywood, like, which is pretty close to like Beverly Hills. Dude, people are so weird.
I agree. People are weird. That's
why you don't leave. I understand why you don't leave your house, man. I really get it.
That's it. You really, you get me now. You understand my essence.
And I'll just become a hermit as well. No, dude.
Sweet.
You know what I've noticed is that like 90s style is coming back, which I'm not a big fan.
You just noticed that?
No, I mean I've noticed for a while, but like when you're on Melrose in freaking West Hollywood and you see it there, that's when you're like, oh well, okay. That, you know, it's not just weird people. Like it's not like I know people who don't have good style and they're the ones trying to bring 90s fashion back. Like no, the people who have good style are trying to bring 90s fashion back.
Are you talking about the taste makers?
Yes, the taste makers, if you will.
I put zero stock into those people, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, well, you know, they don't wear black tees and basketball shorts, then you put no stock into them.
I don't wear a lot of basketball shorts, man. I don't know.
What are you wearing right now? What's on your bottoms? What do you got going on in your lower half? That's sweats or joggers?
They're not sweats, man. They're
are they
not
joggers?
A sponsor. Mugsy jeans.
Mugsy. Are they jeans? I couldn't tell.
Should be a sponsor, but not a sponsor. Yeah. No, they are. And slippers, of course.
I don't do jeans a lot anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they're not real jeans. They're jeans that feel like sweatpants is kind of their whole like thing, but they're not sweatpants.
Oh, I got you. So they're like one of those D2C brands that's trying to revolutionize the pant.
Exactly. Yes, gotcha. They are revolutionizing the pant. I mean, hey, I'm not going to say any more nice things until they.
Yeah, if they're not going to sponsor the pod, then why are we saying nice stuff about them? But
that's it.
No, I hear you, dude. I hear you. If you're on Instagram, if you're on YouTube or Twitter or LinkedIn with us, shout out, hop in the chat, say hello. We're going to talk about how we grew our podcast, what we've done to grow it, our 2 podcasts actually. If you're on Instagram, hop in the chat, comment, say hello. I think I can do a little wave here. I'm going to wave to somebody. I just waved to somebody. I know what happened.
Wave to people too. Hey.
Yeah, you wave manually.
Hey,
it's old school.
I'm an analog waver.
You're an analog waver. I like it. Yeah. You have a very like side to sidey kind of wave. Is that how you wave when you?
Probably not my real wave, but it's a small frame on Instagram.
What's your real wave look like?
Honestly, I'm not much of a wave. Like, I'm kind of a one shot guy, like more like a salute kind of like.
Oh, yeah.
I do like salutes to people when I leave and stuff. Things are like,
Do a lot of
hey,
saluting.
like my wave is a one and done. Again, it's very minimalistic. I don't need you to know. So if you miss it, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I do a full outstretch. See you. Or
And
you know what my wave? You know what my wave hello
on
is?
IG because of that.
You know what my wave hello is? It's just a head nod. I don't ever like, oh hi.
Yeah.
Either it's a head nod or I'm so excited to see him that I'm like, hey. I think I just
head nods are the real deal. Like for like women who maybe don't get the head nod thing, like it's like the go-to. I will say this though, it is the most awkward. I would rather wave at somebody and they not notice than like the head nod and then somebody just like they either didn't notice or they're like purposely like kind of snub you. Like that feels the worst. You're like the head nod, man. Like that's too. I don't know. Then I got to pretend like I'm like, no, I was just like thinking of a song in my head, so I started like,
yeah,
no, I wasn't nodding to you, you loser.
Yeah, and
how
you know
are we
what
talking about this right now? I don't know.
And you know what it is? It's because you do the head nod even to people that you don't know. That you somehow identify with, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Like if I see a dad at Walmart who's just like struggling with it, like, he's got like kids running, he's got a kid cry, like I give him the head nod. I'm like, I get you, man. I feel you. I'm sorry. And then if he doesn't head nod back, but like I get that kind of situation, someone might not head nod back. They might just like see it and like turn away from it. You know what I mean? Then I'm just like, dude, come on. Be better than that.
Yeah, you don't want to get burned by the people that you belong to.
I know. Yeah, like I identified with you. How dare you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it, man. So today we wanted to get a little bit more tactical. We've been doing this series where we kind of did like the how to build a media company, how to build a media brand thing. So
yes,
thingy, a media thingy. What made you laugh there? I understand why you just laughed.
Just because made it a media thing. I mean, so particular with your language. How to grow a media thing.
You broke my groove, dude. I feel like the emperor over here.
I'm sorry.
So growing a media brand, which we've done, I won't say successfully, but I think that's the whole point of this series is to kind of bring people on the journey a little bit. I think, and the reason I think I wanted to start this now and get kind of into it now, one, because we kind of more recently went kind of full time with it, or it's at least for you, especially it's the full-time focus. For me, I still got some other stuff going on, cause I got that lifestyle problem. You know what I mean? I got that lifestyle cost too much money problem. But for you, at least it's kind of the full-time focus. And then the other thing is, like, I remember when you first started learning marketing and paid media from me, you were like, I was speaking Chinese. And then I would tell you like the most basic thing, like I'd tell you like, dude, I would tell you like the business equivalent of like, hey, when you throw a ball, step with your opposite foot than the arm you throw it with, like just the stuff I thought was basic. And you're like, oh, mind blown.
That's
like we should record this stuff. Yeah, we should record this stuff.
That's true. We've done it. Like we did have like a ModCom before ModCom that I honestly did forget all about until just recently we kind of like rediscovered it, and it's one of those things that I did not like watching back. I was like,
it was cringy. It was cringy. You know what word I learned this week?
Cringe.
I don't think I'm saying right is I learned two different words that I think are supposed to mean cringe. The second one, I don't remember what the word is, but the first one is head ass. Have you heard this word, head ass?
I don't think I have. I'm not a head ass.
You're not a head ass dude?
Nah, I don't think so.
I mean, I don't know how much we can swear on Insta and YouTube.
Well, we just did. Oh, did we? Is ass even a swear word? I don't think it is.
I mean, like, look, if you, it's in the Bible, right? If you got a donkey,
in the like animated Pinocchio, like they said, like jackass.
Yeah, if you got a donkey, man, and you call it an ass, I think that's fair game. So no. But yeah, no, head out. And I can't remember that the other word was like something super weird. And it was somebody who was like 20 who said it. And I don't even remember what it was. I didn't even put it in the memory.
Not to like make any of our viewers feel weird, but if you're 20, like Are you really a person yet? Let's be real. I don't know. You're still like in the cocoon.
That's the only age you can make up words, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, think of all the made up new English words. They don't come from like 70-year-olds. You know what I mean? They come from like, it goes into Urban Dictionary. It came from somebody who's under the age of 25.
But this is the same thing we just talked about with like style and stuff. Like, it's got to stand the test of time. Otherwise, like, that's not a word yet. Something that like remember when people said like got to have like your eyebrows on fleek? Like
on fleek.
On fleek is not like a thing. It was like it started to become and then it fizzled. It's not a real like.
I mean, there's some trending language, but some of it stays, right? Like sick.
Some of it,
you know, that's rad. Rad was from our generation, maybe right before us. Like it goes in and out.
By the way, two not great examples of words that like people use a lot still. Like
it goes in and out, but they go in and out because then like there's phases where like I'll hear 15-year-olds saying like, "Oh, that's rad," and I'm like, "What did you just say?" Like, don't do that. It
rad
wasn't
a cool word.
It wasn't a great word. You like rad? Do you use it? You don't use it though.
No. But I mean,
dope probably came from somewhere around our generation.
Dope. Well, I mean, dope started with like dope. Like,
no, that's dope.
Stuff. No, I mean, like dope started as like, it's like drug.
It's like a drug. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Yeah. No, I get you.
Okay. I mean, when I said like dope is just
let me
dope,
put it this way. I think that around the time that dope became a word that meant cool, I understood its origins far better than you did.
That's definitely fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were also in the sagging your pants gang, and I was not at that point.
Well, that's what I was saying about 90s style, dude. Like, I'm just saying, like, I don't really need to see Gene Code Jeans come back, you know?
Dude,
like,
they already did, though.
I know.
They're back.
Dude, I know. And you know what else I don't need to see is, like, wearing, like, you're, like, a size medium, like a comfortable size medium, and you're wearing, like, a quadruple
Give me those
XL.
double X's, baby.
I just don't need to see any of that. Or dude, like the NBA style. Like, I don't want to see him go back to the baggy shorts. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but they already did, kind of. I mean, somewhat.
Well, they're actually in a pretty short phase kind of way right now. Like, the kind of, I don't want to go all the way back to like John Stockton 80s shorts either. But like, can we just have normal length shorts?
Why not?
I guess, you know, if you don't want to see, don't look. That was always my policy.
Yeah. Or like the baseball pants. We've talked about that recently. Like now everybody wears like not like basically pants that don't fit, like how baseball pants traditionally would fit, like tight. Fit. Yeah. Now they're like basically baggy pants. They're like, why don't you guys just wear whatever pants you want? I guess like
you might as well wear some Muggsy jeans. Muggsy jeans owns that's $100.
Yeah. That is not a sponsor, but. For our fans watching on YouTube, we do need to tell you about our next sponsor.
Now that we've got into our content zero, here's our other sponsor. Zero amount. We're not even talking about how we grew our podcast yet. But after this, I'll make a promise. After this, we'll get into how we grew the pod. But here's a quick word from the sponsor on YouTube. If you're on Insta, you get the behind the scenes look. You won't see the sponsor. What's up, everybody? Today's episode is brought to you by ModCom. It's a super slick in-cart upsell app. So if I want to buy these New Balance trainers I'm trying to get in shape, I add them to my cart. My cart opens up and it says, hey, look, you're only $5 away from free shipping. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll add this to my cart since you recommended it. And now I got my free shipping. But hold up, I'm only $38 away from a free gift. So why don't I add a pair of size 8 New Balance trainers to my cart for my girlfriend? She's got bigger feet than me. And now look at this. It actually automatically added that free gift straight to my cart for me. That will all be there when I check out. Super nifty app, super slick, super quick way to increase your AOV. Go to monkcommerce.com. Try it free on your store for 7 days.
And we're back on YouTube.
That was good timing.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Good timing, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, man.
We did a little you got to turn down on Insta, dude.
Yeah, I got you. I got it.
A little rock paper scissors for the behind the scenes Instagram crew. Casey won.
What's up?
We didn't decide on any stakes. All right, so let's talk about how we do the podcast. I think you kind of laid this out a little bit, so let's get into like, I mean, last time I interviewed you, let me just call an audible on the fly. Do you
sure? Why not?
Interviewer here, and I'll act as like the color man.
You know what? Like, let's let it see how it goes. You know, why not?
How she goes. Yeah.
Okay. We already kind of started talking about our background in marketing. I know we kind of got into that on the last episode we did like this. But I thought maybe that's like a pretty good spot to start with it. Particularly some of the tactics that we brought from that, and we'll just touch on them lightly. Kind of how we've taken them and adjusted them to fit our podcast growth.
Yeah.
Specifically, giveaway model. John, why don't you say something about the giveaway model while I pull up some things that we could potentially show YouTube people?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I think that I've actually been kind of in the giveaway game quite a while. Like, I remember when I was I was just out of college, and I got hired to be like the marketing director, quote unquote, for this company that was like the Groupon of runners, Groupon for runners, right? So like if you ran like marathons or half marathons, there'd be like discounts in there for you, or like running stores all around the country. Back when people didn't really shop online as much, it was like this Groupon for runners idea. It's a coolish idea, but just, if anyone's wondering how it worked out, Groupon already is the Groupon for runners. So that was just like, it was not a great idea. But I got hired to be the marketing director. Like, legitimately, that was my title. And I had literally zero experience in marketing, but I was under the age of 25, and I was a runner, and that was the qualification I needed. And I was on the Facebooks. I knew about the Facebooks. And so I was like, I don't know how to grow this thing, right? And I just did like a giveaway. I was like, well, what if I give away a pair of running shoes, right? Like, I don't even know what like that'll do, but like maybe that'll grow our Facebook, or maybe that'll grow our email. Like, and I think I did some reading on Google, and I was like, oh, this email marketing thing, this seems like the thing. This seems like the next big deal, right? So I'm like, well, how do I get the email list? Well, why don't I do this giveaway of a pair of running shoes, and then like they enter their email, they get entered into the giveaway to win a pair of running shoes, which is basically exactly what we do now. I feel like if I were a comedian, I'd basically be telling you, yeah, my material hasn't changed in about 12 years now. So the giveaway, it worked really well. So basically what we did is we said, hey, enter to win this pair of running shoes. And this was actually not even that related. I would advise people get more relevant with it. But we gave away the pair of shoes, and we sent out this like email sequence where we're like, hey, here's the winner. We announced who the winner was. But then we said like, okay, but for all of you who didn't win, as a thank you for entering, even though you didn't win, here is a 3 months free it was called Runners on the Go. So 3 months free membership of Runners on the Go. And it's like, I don't know, it was some low cost, like $5 a month or something like that. So we gave him 3 months free, and it like worked, right? Like, it was like, we got, that was the biggest bump of signups we got, other than going to an event. So like when we paid to be like a booth at a marathon, those were the biggest bumps of signups we got, but the ROI wasn't good, because we'd pay like $1,000 to do this booth, and we'd get 20 people signed up or something like that, which, if you're doing the math on that, takes about 1 million years to ROI. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, oh, like we only spent like $200 on that campaign. We grew our email list, and then we got to promote things to our email list. So I promoted the Runners on the Go, but back then I didn't really know how to monetize an email list better. But that was kind of like one of the first times that I was like, oh, I had an idea. I did a thing. I executed this giveaway. I gave people something they wanted. And then in return, they kind of like did something I wanted, as long as it was relevant to what they wanted, right? Like, I know they don't really want running shoes unless they're a runner. And if they're a runner, then they might be interested in this. And that was like the core of the giveaway model. And we've had so many iterations of it since then.
Yeah. I mean, I remember specifically when I first joined you in marketing, and one of the accounts that I would kind of handle, I mean, I don't know that we should mention who it is exactly, but they were.
I mean, I don't think they even sell online in it, because they don't do these giveaways anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. So it was Diesel Brothers. We'll just say who it was. It was Diesel Brothers. If you ever watched Diesel Brothers on the Discovery Channel, it was their e-commerce brand, which was Diesel Power Gear. But yeah, it was them, right? And we were running all the email marketing for them. Good friends still. Shout out to Van. Shout out to my guy Van Oaks. Good friends still with the guy who was their marketing director, and who really put them on the map from an e-commerce perspective at the time. And he had us running the email.
Yeah, and that email, that was fun. I mean, that was kind of my first like real gig, I think, in marketing. And I mean, it was a year long, which pretty good run, honestly. Looking back on it, at the time, I was like, oh, this will never end. But that's just not how it works all the time in the business world. But I had a good time and I learned a lot.
I think that every time I've ever heard somebody say, this will never end, like this isn't going to end, or this isn't going to stop. That's what, this will never stop. It'll never stop. We'll never stop. That's living on like a hack in business.
Yeah.
Almost always it stops like shortly thereafter. It's like, if you found the hack, other people are going to find it. Anyway, go ahead.
That's like the motivational, like never stop, never stopping. Like it's a good one, you know. Life's a garden, dig it, you know, those kinds of things. Yeah. Anyway, so I particularly learned the value of what a giveaway can do. Like you just explained, I won't re-explain it, but we brought that over to, in particular, our sports podcast really has benefited from it the most.
Yeah, so when we're talking about growing podcast downloads, that's where this is where we've kind of like applied it, right?
Yeah. So I thought I'd just kind of show what we mean by those kinds of things. So like here is one type of giveaway that we just actually ended.
Give me like 2 zooms, 3 zooms. Give me 2 zooms.
Let's zoomy.
Oh, weird. Okay. Yeah. So this is an ad. This is a Facebook ad. It runs on Instagram as well. If you're on Instagram, you can't see it. You can go to YouTube and see it if you want. But it's just an ad that says, or if you're listening on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I'll just explain it to you. You know, it's a graphic of, is that Aaron Judge?
Yeah, it is Judge.
Aaron Judge, who plays for the Yankees, and there's just like a text on the image that says, win a custom MLB jersey of your choice on opening day. And then the copy says, MLB fans giveaway alert, win a custom MLB jersey. So basically really obvious, like, hey, you like baseball, you like Aaron Judge, you like the Yankees, you like any of these things, win a custom MLB jersey. And then there's like a kind of a little, there's some other little stuff, you know, you can go to YouTube and see it, you know, after this, if you really want to see the details of it. But yeah, we're giving them a custom one. So the custom one is essentially where they get to pick the team and then they get to put whatever name on the back if they wanted. Like if they wanted to put Judge on the back and pretend it's an Aaron Judge jersey, they could. Or if they're like me and I'm like, oh, I was always number 2 and my name's, I could put Coyle on the back and I could put number 2 on a Yankees jersey, right? So that's what we're giving away here. Yeah.
Right. Yep. And we've done a couple of these. So just another one here, like the NBA jerseys giveaway here. So this one's still active, I believe. You can pick any NBA player jersey, any team, any style. Yeah. Well, why not, right? Check us out, Triple Cross Podcast down here. You can find us on all your major podcast apps and also on YouTube. We have a video version, just like we do for ModCom. So check us out over there. Another one here, too. We also gave away 2 tickets to an NFL home opener for next season. This was kind of our first one that we did, and it had, you know, pretty good success. So we built upon that, and I think we've actually fine-tuned it quite a bit, but always following those same principles of what you kind of first outlined. Make sure you're giving away something that speaks to your particular audience, something that would be of pretty high value to them, or at least high perceptual value to them, relative to like what you can afford as a production. And that's pretty solid at generating some buzz, and you just try to like hijack that buzz and relay it on over to your content. That's
honestly, I would say in terms of driving those 75,000 downloads per month that we're at, tactically, this is the single biggest thing.
For sure.
Is doing these giveaways and then in terms of driving the highest quality downloads. So because let's get into quality a little bit in a second, because I'm gonna start with this statement and say the giveaways have driven the highest quality downloads, and like the people who listen to us every time and chat with us and know who we are and all of that stuff. These are the highest quality listeners. That's what the giveaways have driven that. So I want to address this thing because we're talking about doing giveaways, right? Which a lot of people kind of write off. And given it's not like I've implemented a giveaway for every single brand, but
especially coming from the marketing world, because like from marketing, who are we? Like a stigma,
right?
With giveaway model.
Yeah, there is a stigma because it's like, who we try, is that really going to attract buyers, right? That's the question.
Most people would think it attracts low quality people that could be on your list that are just kind of mucking it up, not converting, maybe not even engaging with your other content. So like, all around not that useful. But we found slightly different results.
Well, why? Let's talk about why though. Let's talk about because I will say this. I think even us marketing professionals who've run lots of giveaways, we have messed up. Like not messed up, but we've had instances where we run a giveaway and we don't actually get like buyers with it. We do attract what we would call a low quality audience. So why is it and how is it that a giveaway actually works to attract a high quality audience for you?
I think that, I mean, we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I think one of the major reasons is the ask is way different. What we're asking now is way different.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we want to believe that these people could still convert for our sponsors, but there's a huge step that is missing in the marketing funnel for other brands that we have now, which is the content itself, right? Like the whole oven. We use this analogy a lot, right? Exactly. You have to
put them in the oven, gotta bake them.
Yeah. Some people arrive at your brand, if you're just some random e-commerce brand, some people arrive at your brand already pretty warm, you know, which means like in your funnel, maybe they
before, you know what I mean? They're already baked.
That, or even if from another brand, they got a little bit of information on how good this type of product could be. And then, you know, they jump immediately halfway down your funnel, basically, without you having to have done anything. That could happen. But with the giveaway model, like most people are probably not like that, because that's not really how you're getting them pretty cold. That's why I think the hit rate for other e-commerce brands is pretty low. But when you're not asking them to buy when you're sending them to your podcast. You're not asking a huge ask in return. You're saying, hey, we know you like running shoes, or we know you like to go to football games. We know you like to buy basketball jerseys. We know you want all these different types of things. Well, guess what those go hand in hand with is this content that we've made specifically around that exact same stuff. You want NBA jerseys? Guess what? We have a whole NBA show. You can just hear us talk about NBA, and maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But that's a lot easier ask than to say, now go buy something from us.
Right.
Just give us 2 minutes of your time. If you don't like it, leave. If you do, stick around. And the more they stick around, those people get baked. Their temperature rises. They're sitting in our oven for long enough to where we believe they can convert for our sponsors. They will convert to more and more of our episodes. They'll become quality listeners. They'll engage with us. We'll basically just get a huge return from that person. And it just took kind of cranking up the temperature a little bit.
You know, when I first learned this is because I always kind of thought this thing about giveaways, but I've always had a little faith, because I had that thing with Runners on the Go happen where I was like, oh no, some of them actually signed up for the membership. And then, dude, so there's been 2 other times where it's like it's kind of like stepped up each time. So the second time was I started doing them for this marathon. It was the Utah Valley Marathon. Again, I'm all about the shout outs today. The Utah Valley Marathon, and I ran giveaways for a free entry into the Utah Valley Marathon. I only targeted Utah, and I was like, dude, you would not want an entry into a freaking marathon. Like, ain't nobody want to run a marathon unless you're a person who already wants to run a marathon.
All right, so we've established you're a psycho, basically.
No, like,
you want some psycho shoes?
I was trying to attract psychopaths, so I was like, well, you know, let me give psychopaths the thing that they already want. Like, I don't want to give away an iPod if I want to attract psychopaths, right? Like, I give them psychopathic things. So I gave away an entry into the marathon, and that one crushed. So the more relevant it is and the more qualifying it is, the better, right? I would even say sometimes with Triple Cross, I'm like, sometimes I wish we could be a little more qualifying, because a lot of people might want a jersey that aren't that into sports. But I mean, there's a balance there. But like, like that one killed it, because the cost per lead, you know, the cost per person to enter was like so low, you know, 70 cents or 80 cents or something like that. And then we'd spend $100 on a campaign. And then when we did that winner announcement email, we stacked it up. So we'd do this winner announcement where we would go, you know, hey, here's the winner. Here's a promo code for everyone else. Just a reminder, the price is going up in 2 days. And then we go, because all races have price hikes. Basically, I think all events have price hikes, you know. So then we would stack this 3-day email sequence. So like the last one was like, hey, you know, like, not only do you have a discount right now, but the price on this thing is about to go up. And I mean, you'd spend $200 on a campaign, and we'd do, you know, $2,000 worth of entries, which was big for them, you know. And I think we scaled that all the way up to like $1,000 on a campaign, and that drove like $5,000 or $6,000 worth of entries. And then we got maybe a little bit locally, you know, challenged, right? Like, there's only so many people, there's only so many psychopaths in a rural area that want to run a marathon. So like that worked. And then the other time it worked, that I was like, oh, this has legs. And this is what led me to do this. Kind of what led us to do it for the podcast was we were working with a live shopping company and you were here for this one, where we did they just went live every day and like sold clothes, which to us was like weirdest thing in the world at first. We're like,
Right.
why do people buy the clothes though? But like, no, she would just go live every day and she'd like put it on and she'd be like, here's how it fits. It fits a little small. So if you're large, get a medium, whatever. And then she'd be like, comment sold in your size or sold in your color and your size. And dude, it would like, she would sell so much. And we were like, what if we just got more people into the lives? So we did these giveaways to grow the email list and the SMS list, which is the other key.
So that became fundamental.
And her lives went from like 50 people, like 500, and they 5x their revenue and all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, I know you can do it right. And that one was pretty generous, just like giving away an outfit or something like that, So it's relevancy is the key. We're not giving away an iPod to attract people to our sports podcast because anybody could want an iPad, whether they're into sports or not. When we're to grow ModCom, this is actually one of the challenges with growing ModCom, I think, is that there's not like a super highly relevant giveaway that like really applies to business people, marketers, e-commerce people. You know what I mean? I think we've tried
tougher.
Yeah, we've tried like a year of Shopify. We've tried some tickets to like a conference, but not everybody has the recognition of those things. So yeah, it's harder on ModCom for sure. But yeah, SMS. Let's talk about SMS because I think that's the other key to this.
Right. I think relevance and then SMS particularly is another unlock that at first you might say, well, yeah, text is good, but for live recordings, for live, selling, live events, anything like that, where you're trying to send people to something right now. Guess what does a very bad job of that? Email marketing. Yeah. Email marketing is great at getting an ROI. Cost is so low. I'm a huge email marketing fan. Like I said, that was my first gig in marketing. Still love it to this day, but it is very, very bad at getting people to a place right now. That's going to be over the course of a day, 2 days, maybe a whole week. SMS is far superior in sending traffic to a place instantly. Particularly because, you're getting a notification every time, basically, for text messages. Most people have silenced their email notifications, or at least manicured them at least now to where like if you sign up for some random email list, you're not getting a notification necessarily. And you're definitely not dying to go open it right away, even if you do. So we found that SMS is huge. So having a funnel, the giveaway funnel like we use, that gathers phone numbers is pretty much just kind of the whole reason worth doing in the whole funnel to begin with. I don't know if that's overstepping, but more or less it is. And, in regular funnels, you might find that conversion rate for SMS is pretty low as far as like grabbing the phone number, because you can't make it mandatory, I believe, on giveaways.
We're not lawyers, right? So that little disclaimer here, you have to follow all TCPA laws and all laws around texting and stuff like that. We're not going to tell you exactly how to do that. That's not what this show's about, but we can tell you it's well worth it, right?
And we can tell you that we get about a little bit over 60% conversion rate for like all the people that give us
everyone
emails.
Who entered,
about 63% of them also give us their phone number. So it's a pretty good conversion rate. We're still gathering, SMS textable numbers at a pretty reasonable rate, pretty reasonable cost. And like we said already, the value in those people, they show us that by when they get the text, they show up onto the show and they participate. And that's how we're flywheeling right now.
For sure. So, so I'm gonna wrap up this whole section because I think we're about to move into the tactical a little bit, and like I do want to give people like a look if you are at zero, because I want to deliver on the title of this episode, which if you're on YouTube or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, that I kind of titled this episode something like how we grew from 0 to 75,000 downloads a month. So I do want to get into the tactical of like, okay, we used giveaways. Here's what we've got essentially just gone through is like, hey, here's the foundational knowledge you need for giveaways. And if I were to sum that up, I would just say, making giveaways work it's a balancing relevance of what you're giving away. How relevant is what you're giving away to who you want to attract? Something highly relevant will attract the right people. Content, so what they see and how well you bake them, how well you bring them from, someone who just entered to win this thing to someone who's like, yeah, I'm in on you or what you're selling or whatever. Right. So content is a second element. And then, that's really it. Like it's, and then platform, like, so specifically using email, if email is the right move for you, using SMS, if you're doing a lot more like live stuff, right? Like we're doing a lot of live stuff. So SMS works really well. So but that's it. It's like relevance, get something as relevant as possible to who you want to attract, and then have content, right? So in my example with the Utah Valley Marathon, it was an extremely relevant prize, right? Like we didn't have to have any content to warm them up. I'm like, I already know if you enter to win a marathon like race entry, you want to run a marathon. Okay. I don't even need to warm you up. So I can just give you a discount, tell you, hey, you didn't win. Sorry, but here's a discount. And then you're going to enter. Whereas like with the live shopping thing where it was clothing, women's clothing, it was like, hey, it's not like all women wear clothes, and what we're giving away is some kind of like outfit or something like that, gift card. And so we needed to bake them a little bit, but luckily that lady, like she went live every day, right? And she's really endearing. So we send them to the live, and that was the ovens. Like we gathered all the cookie dough, and all we did was put it into cookies and put it on the cookie sheet and like send it to the live oven, and that oven, like the content baked it so that then they just start buying from her. So really it's a mix of relevancy of prize and content, and then and then using the right tool for the right job. So let's get into that a little bit. Tactically, where are we promoting these? What are we using to like generate the leads? And then what are we using to like send email, SMS? And I don't want to spend too long on specific tactics.
No, yeah, for sure. No,
because there's a lot of ways to skin this cat, but
yeah, I think what you just laid out is the general knowledge, the kind of theories you need to buy into, the philosophy you need to kind of buy into. And if you're truly at zero, if you're starting at zero, probably wondering how. So that, I guess we can just briefly touch on how we tend to do this, some of the tools we use. I think we could do it without these tools, just to be fair. But the first one, the one that we've become most accustomed to while running these giveaways, would be Viral Sweep. It's a nice tool, shout out, not a sponsor, but I do recommend it if you want to try running a giveaway. I think you can do it for free, right? I think there's a free. I'm not 100%
I don't know if there's a free version. I don't want to.
I don't know for sure, but I will say whatever we pay for it, it's worth it.
Yeah, I think I'm on like the most expensive plan there is, and it's still worth it to us.
Yeah, you get a lot of customization for how your giveaway is going to look. You don't need a separate page builder. You don't need some kind of like Instapage or ClickFunnels or anything like that. You can do everything you need to do within. So it's show up, one-stop shop. It'll safeguard you from doing a lot of the stuff the wrong way. It has a nice flow for you already. I think it'll have some legal stuff kind of already, maybe not already put in there for you, but it'll already have a spot for where you need to put some of your legal, like the rules at least, even if you don't call that legal. Yeah, it's a pretty nice tool for what it is. And I've found that the more, just like any good tool, I would say this is true about any good tool I've found in marketing, the more time I spend using it, the more I learn about it and the more I'm able to do with it.
Right.
Whereas some tools you just find it's kind of like this is it. And usually those things fall out of my tool stack pretty quick. I find some better alternative that, as I use it more, I'll get a bigger return.
And sometimes they're necessary, like freaking, I mean, this episode is about podcasting, so I'll call out some like Megaphone. Dude, it's by Spotify. Just get your crap together, Megaphone. Be better. They've got
some good stuff. They've got a good selling point.
They help you monetize. They do help you monetize, so I'll give them that. But like in terms of like analytics or basically any kind of ease of use, it's just not great.
Especially when you're like
we use it though still because we want money. We want to make money from our podcast, so we use it still. So I will call them out for that. But yeah, when we're coming from YouTube, we're like, what is this? Makes no sense.
YouTube, you could pour over data for weeks and still have plenty more to look at.
Right.
You have more info than you'd ever need on YouTube in that analytics section. Megaphone could take a page out of that book for sure. So anyway, back to Viral Sweep. If you want to run some kind of giveaway, I highly recommend using it.
And essentially if you want to start a
podcast, I actually, Megaphone, sure, go for it if you want to use Megaphone.
Well, let me tell you what, if you want to start a podcast, I'm going to say this. Megaphone is Megaphone. Viral Sweep, to me, in terms of how we've grown our podcast, running giveaways is a more essential tool for growing our podcast than any than hosting it.
Right.
Having the audience is more essential for growth than even hosting. Hosting, you'll figure out. If you got an audience, you're going to figure out hosting. You're going to figure out how to get them something if you got an audience. But if you go and you do all the technical setup and you get it hosted and you do all that and you just have no audience, you know what? That sucks. You know, like that's the kind of thing that wears on you.
Right.
And then you just stop doing it.
From day one, that has been, at least in my mind, that was always the way that I was looking at it. We're never going to grow if this becomes something we just don't want to do anymore. If we get so downtrodden.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So the way that you can keep yourself excited about whatever it is you're going to talk about, whatever it is you're going to cover, whatever content you're making, it has to be something that you want to do. Otherwise, nobody wants to watch you or listen to you do it. That's for sure.
No, and audience helps, right? Like in sports, I would always say, you know, people always say like, well, it's not about winning, it's about having fun. Well, it's a lot more fun when you're winning. So it's a little about winning, right? And so if you want to talk about something with your friends and you do a podcast and you don't really care how many people are listening, that's fine. You can have fun doing that, but I'll tell you what, it's a lot more fun when people are listening. It really is.
I agree, John. I agree.
So at the core, I'm going to just break this down tactically really quick. We use a tool called Viral Sweep. Very easy to use, very intuitive. If you just sign up for it and start making a giveaway, you'll get it. We use Facebook ads and we use a few different traffic channels. We've tried Twitter ads, we've tried Facebook ads, we've tried some YouTube ads. We use Facebook ads, so specifically Meta ads, Facebook and Instagram ads to drive traffic to essentially advertise, hey, we have this giveaway. We send people to the Viral Sweep page. They enter their, name, phone number, and email. And then Viral Sweep has this thing where you can actually tie in like all of your socials. Like you can say, all right, now follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube. It has some other stuff where it's like we can give them bonus entries and you can give them bonus entries for all that stuff. And we could give them bonus entries even for like listening to full episodes of the podcast. So again, thinking about baking them where it's like, hey, like I'll bribe you. I'll give you 50 bonus entries to this giveaway if you listen to a full episode of the podcast. And then you're kind of saying like, well, I'm having faith that my content's good enough and that, we're entertaining enough or some combination of the two that, that they're going to be like a little bit more sticky and endeared to us. And not everyone is, for sure. Not everybody vibes with us, but it's the same thing. Like imagine, I mean, it's anything though. Like imagine if you're like a really great musician. I literally see somebody watching on our IG right now who is a great musician. Like she's legitimately very good. And like, if you're like, oh, if I could just get more people to listen, they'll be in, they'll be in on it. And like, okay, if you could get them to watch an entire cover, right, or two, and you could give them bonus entries for whatever giveaway you're giving them for that, like it gets a lot easier, right? And then you just give them concert tickets to some musician that is similar to your style, some like artist that's similar, some artist that's similar to your style, right? Like it's just it's not hard. So run ads, do the giveaway, set up the bonus entries, and then we either email them or SMS message them for the podcast every time we're live or every time we drop a new episode. So we're dropping an episode on Spotify or Apple Pods or whatever, we just drop them the link to it. For us, we do it live a lot. So for Modern Commerce, I think we've specifically kind of decided let's push more Spotify, but like for Triple Cross, we do it live a lot. So we just drop them a text message every time we're live. And then, simple. That's where the downloads come. Now, I do want to say that podcasting shouldn't be all about downloads. Like some of this should be about retention and like getting people, baking people and getting people like really in on you. So let's talk about that a little bit. Once they're there, what are we doing to like get them more in on us, get them to be kind of a power listener?
Yeah. So I'd say we do quite a few things in that. That's like there's a lot that goes into that. Yeah. But I mean, okay. So considering their path, they don't always know us when they first show up, right? So I would say one of the things that we do is we actually, even on our show, even though most of our people found us through the giveaways, we still promote the giveaways on the show, which sounds like obvious, but I think it's important because
we're working with algorithmic platforms. YouTube serves us to new people, so we want those new people to know about our giveaways. Yeah.
And I mean, for anybody who's on YouTube, I mean, free little nugget is you can find out just by looking at your own analytics if you do anything live on YouTube. But if you're planning on maybe you make videos and you want to start going live on your YouTube channel if you have one, YouTube will not give you any organic lift or push your video to any other viewers until about 20 minutes in. That's just something that you wouldn't know unless you do it.
Yeah.
So either you sit around for 20 minutes and do nothing.
Do some intentional stuff.
Yes,
did you notice how we didn't really get into it today until 15 to 18 minutes? Like, if you've been around this whole time, then you're like, oh yeah, I thought you guys were just shooting. We were just kind of shooting the bull, right? But like, it's because we knew that YouTube would start serving us about 15 to 20 minutes in. We don't want to be halfway through the topic at that point. We want to like really just be getting into it, so that when people are like, oh, how I grew a podcast, like they feel like they're in on it, you know, from the jump.
Right. I'd say the other thing we do is, you know, when we get those people there, the worst thing you can do is ignore them. We do a good job, I'd say, of bringing the chat, at least, not necessarily everybody who's watching, but if they're willing to reach out to us and send us chat messages while we're live, we're going to talk about it. We're going to
answer their questions.
Yep. We've definitely been on shows at this point where there are too many messages to acknowledge most of the people. But, you know, usually it's nice if you have the luxury of having like a background producer. Once you hit that size, you can have that person kind of looking through the comments, popping good ones up on the screen. That's what we do. If you're not a video podcast, no screen to worry about, I guess.
Look at that. There's a blast from the past.
Hey, what's up?
Engaging the chat. He probably was testing the theory. Do you guys really acknowledge the chat? Yes, we really acknowledge the chat, Jesse.
We really do.
Jesse's a childhood friend. He played baseball with us growing up.
Hey, Jesse, I want to know, how much do you think our podcast weighs?
How much you think that mountain weighs?
Yeah.
Oh, what a throwback joke.
Yeah.
That was Jesse's joke one day. We were traveling, and he's like, hey guys, how much do you think that mountain weighs? Like, dude, I don't.
It was like sleep deprived.
Even all the trees on it, I couldn't even begin to guess, you know?
Yeah. No, that was a wild question. Anyway, so what were we talking about here? How else do we get people
so
in?
I think we bridge them. I think there's a little bridge here where we kind of do this thing where, hey, you came in for a giveaway. So we'll even kind of rebribe them a little bit. Like on Triple Cross, we do this a lot. On Modern Commerce, on this show, we don't do it as much. But like on Triple Cross, mainly because we don't even know what to give away on Modern Commerce. But on Triple Cross, what we'll do is we'll be like, hey, you know, we're going to do mini giveaways during the show. So we'll be like, hey, you know, get an NBA Shop gift card, and then we'll juice the chat. We'll juice the YouTube algorithm doing that. So we'll say, you know, hey, you got to like the video, you got to subscribe to the channel if you're not already, you got to hit the bell icon so you get notifications, and then you got to hop in the chat and give us, you know, sometimes it's relevant. Like yesterday, I asked everybody what they think about the Sacramento Kings because the Kings just clinched a playoff spot, you know. But sometimes it's like, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? We're just trying to get them chatting so that then we can respond, and I can be like, you seriously like bubble gum ice cream? Like, are you an adult or like, are you 7, you know? And then like we can engage them a little bit, and then the chat will get them. And then it kind of has it's its own living, breathing thing. So we drive engagement, and that does 2 things. 1, it gets us more reach. 2, and it gets us more, you know, downloads or views or whatever it is. 2, it gets people like in on it, right? And it's not just that they're in on us. They're not just like, oh, these guys are really insightful or these guys are really funny. Because I don't think we're particularly either of those things. We do try and be insightful. We do try. No, I don't think I am, right? But like, you know, we do try and be insightful and funny, but like, I wouldn't live and die on being the most insightful. You know, I'm not trying to be Jordan Peterson out here, or whoever you think is insightful. I don't know.
Oh, there goes half of our audience right there.
I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be Joe Dirt out here. You know, like whoever you think is your wise man. Or like, you know, you're funny. Like, I'm not a comedian, but like the community, people get in on the community then, right? Because they engaged with this chat, they engaged with us. Sometimes we engage with the chat. Like, it was a thing. They're in on the joke now. You know what I mean? Like they're in, and then they'll just start coming back, and then they get deeper and deeper. They follow us on all the channels, and then, you know, that's when we make a recommendation of like, hey, you know, this sponsor, blah blah blah. They're like, yeah, if I'm looking for a new wallet, then your wallet sponsor, like, yeah, for sure, I'll support you guys by getting that wallet, right? Or whatever.
If you're watching this, there's a good chance you're already a marketer of some sort. Since this is our marketing
unless you're just following me on Instagram and you just know me in real life.
Yeah, unless you're Jesse Nielsen, who may be in marketing. I don't know what Jesse's up to these days.
I think he does insurance. Am I right about that, Jesse?
Okay.
Are you insurance?
Well, there's some marketing involved there for sure.
There's definitely marketing. Casey used to do insurance. Fun fact. Go ahead.
But one of the principles of marketing is the rule of reciprocity. So this is kind of what we're just every step of the way. We're doing something to these people as they're coming into our world. We're doing something that just gives them kind of value, even if the value is just a chance to win something. Yeah. Most of the people will not win the major thing that we're giving away, the trip to a home opener, the jersey that we're giving away. Most people won't
5,000 people. 5,000 people entered to win that home opener ticket, and one person won. Right. Most of them will not win, but plenty of them still stick around and watch the pod and listen to the pod and engage in the chat and engage in the community and do all of that.
Because they did get something up front from us. They got that chance. And then once they get there, like you said, we just keep layering that with more and more stuff that they want to have. You're getting conversations. If they jump in the chat, they can have conversations all their own in the chat with other people in our community now. You don't even have to listen to the podcast. You could come just for the chat and chat with those people. Sometimes it's a whole other conversation happening over there.
Yeah, a lot of times it is. Yeah, you could have it on silent and just be chatting. So like here, this is what it is. And this is, I would say, the general overlying rule to like growing a podcast is you have to have two things. You have to have the reason for them to come and the reason for them to stay. Right. And the reason for them to come is usually either like a gimmick. It's a giveaway. What we're doing is a giveaway. Sometimes it's a gimmick. It's like a very unique podcast angle. It's like a podcast about, if oranges could be the president, or whatever. I don't know, some stupid, unique podcast angle that it's like, okay, like I'm intrigued by this. Right. Or it's whatever. Right. Like you have to have a reason for them to come first. And then once they're there, you have to have a reason for them to stay. The reason for them to stay are a lot of the things, right? Like that's what we've been talking about. But I think what it ultimately comes down to is either do they feel like they're part of a community by being in your podcast? Like, is it make them be around and engage with other people who are like them? Or do they just get in on you? Like, do they think you are funny or think you're entertaining, or do they think that the content you put out is really valuable to them? Right.
And since we know that's not the case with our podcast, we just make sure
we know we put out zero value, we just, bribe them with more giveaways. That's how we did it.
But I mean, hey, that works too. And like you said, there's many reasons why somebody would hang around. So, I mean, if you feel like you're a part of our community, make sure you hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, or follow us on IG if you're watching there. Or, man, I mean, all the different
all the things.
Channels
we're on Instagram.
Yeah, just do the things that you're supposed to do. Like us, do all those things. Because
follow us wherever you're watching.
Yeah, 100%. And we're kind of bringing that attitude that we're explaining to everything. Even in ModCom, we're constantly thinking of new things we can try for giveaways, for other types of value we can give up front. Yeah, exactly. We are big proponents of value up front, and a good balance on the ask give continuum.
Yes, the give ask.
Barely got out of that one. I didn't know what I was saying.
Dude, it looked sloppy coming in, like you were rounding third base, just stumbling. You dove in though. You beat the ball. Good job. Okay, so I want to talk about two things. What number one biggest thing that we've done? I would say there's two big things that have made us grow the podcast. One, giveaways, and I'm gonna include in that giveaways, and then a lot of thought and work and focus on taking those people who came in via giveaways and sort of baking them and warming them up to us. So that's one. And two, monetizing. And we could do a whole other show about monetizing and how we're making.
We probably should.
We probably will. We'll do this as a series, this building a media company series. But monetizing, I think, was one of the biggest things that that helped us grow for two reasons. One, once we had a sponsor, we were like, oh, we got to deliver. Right.
It changes the entire mental structure.
Changes your mindset. So, and I hate to be the Gary V freaking whatever motivational speaker coach guy, but look, mindset really is everything. When you think about your hobby like a business, when you think about your podcast like a business, when you think about your music like a business, when you think about whatever it is you do and that you're into and that you want to grow and why you're here and watching this, you think about that like a business, it changes your mindset around it. And when somebody gives your business money, you want to deliver the value back to them. And so that you're like, we have to, now I was like, we have to grow. Now we have to get the viewers. Now we have to get them the attention they deserve for taking a chance on us and sponsoring us. And so we took some of that money and we reinvested it into growth, and that's huge.
Yeah, I would actually say it's very similar to the same jump. And it's funny because we just started our baseball show not too long ago, right? And we have a third partner with us on our sports show, Triple Cross Podcast, who he runs the baseball show. And the jump from, hey, I'd like to do a show, and hey, I made up an idea of what I think the show should be. Let's do it. And even shooting that first show, it's fun. It's honestly fun. It's just a good time. Anything that goes right feels great.
What you're passionate about,
Anything that goes wrong, it'll get better. What you don't realize when you start a weekly podcast is that treadmill has started, and the speed is constant. And every week you have to do that same thing. And by about week 3, 4, I don't want to say there's like some
week, dude. I mean, how many weeks have we done this? Week 200 sometimes.
Yeah.
By week 200, it's still difficult.
It's more than you think it'll take to get into that process. Once you kind of get it going, you kind of get used to it a little bit, but it's tough. And I would say it's the same kind of jump when you do land that sponsor. To bring it back to that, it's like, oh, it levels up again. You go like, not only can we now not miss a week, we have responsibilities to put these out for our sponsors. Like we're actually seeing how in the future this kind of can become its own thing. It's maybe potentially like full-time opportunity. Really, like, honestly can be life-changing, but it won't be that way unless you continue to do what you've been doing. So if you find any amount of juice that works, anything that tends to go right, all of a sudden you're like doubling, tripling down on those things. And you want to run down every avenue, but there's so many avenues, so many, shiny objects for our marketing friends. Everybody knows what that means. You got to figure out which ones to avoid and which ones to run down. I think that's as much of a struggle. That also is probably a topic for a whole episode on its own.
Yeah.
But to sponsorships, you got to do what'll ultimately get you some monetization so that you can put more time and resource into your podcast so that it can be the best it can be. So that's simple.
No, so yeah, I mean, look, two things. It's like the giveaways have been game changing, and then thinking about it like a business became game changing. And this helps me kind of transfer into what I just wanted to say was like, once I started thinking about it as a business, because we got a sponsor, then I started thinking, well, what do you do to promote a business and get more people? Well, you run ads. We run ads, Senator. That's it at the end of the day. So yeah, I mean, we just started running ads, and how we've grown ModCom. And I do want to touch on this because the giveaway thing is huge. And I think that everybody should do that. And if that's your one takeaway, that's what you should do. But how we've grown ModCom is a little bit different. One, we have been more algorithm gifted, you might say, right? And two, we've run ads to just we've run YouTube ads to just get more views. And we know, hey, some of the people will watch it. Some of the people will watch quite a bit of it. And some of those people will subscribe and they'll keep coming back. And that's essentially what's happened. And as we've grown that little group, then we get some algorithm love on a good episode. We'll get some algorithm love because they'll watch the whole thing. And if you got 20 people in a row, 50 people in a row, 100 people in a row, 200 people in a row watch the whole thing, then YouTube goes like, oh, this is a good piece of content, and it starts serving it to everybody. So that's one thing. The other thing is we've run YouTube ad, we've run Twitter ads. I have a small personal brand on Twitter, so we share the episodes. We have our guests share the episodes, just all the stuff that you already know about. But yeah, specifically running ads on Twitter, running ads on YouTube, running ads on LinkedIn. We've even gotten tactical and worked with groups who do a bunch of Twitter meme pages where it's business meme tweets and stuff like that, or whatever, just funny business pages, funny topical pages. And they, promote your show all over it and stuff. We've done all kinds of stuff to grow modern commerce. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is just figuring out, how do I invest dollars into this in a way that will make it grow, right? And for the most part, I think the giveaway is the move. But sometimes I did touch on some of those other things.
I would say another thing that's working hugely to our advantage for modern commerce specifically, and it's getting there with Triple Cross too, is you know, and I think this is actually pretty much the takeaway from our first episode that was like this, but it was that we just started doing it before we even knew what we were really supposed to do. If you're watching this and this is like, oh, I'm going to hear something that makes me want to start it because they're going to give me the perfect little secret. Well, then, if I can just be frank, you're probably never going to start your podcast. No. Because we just started without knowing what the hell we were doing. And
no, so literally at first you just like start, you make content and you just be okay with it going to 0 people.
And what it's done for us now is now we have this pretty extensive back catalog of content, which just legitimizes you so much to potential viewers, to sponsors, to other business connections. There's so many different things. If you did the best single episode on the internet, guess how much that means to people? It means you've done one episode, if that's all you've ever done. I would much rather have our 74, episodes on a variety of places on the quality scale. Let's just be real. At the beginning, we didn't have microphones. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't prepare anything ahead of time.
If you're watching right now, and this is the first episode you've ever watched, please do not go back and listen to Modern Commerce episode 1. Like, and I know I should be like, go do it. But I'm like saying, like, don't.
Definitely get it. You'll
if
get
you
what
don't believe us, if you don't believe us, you'll get it if you do that. But like, I mean, it's pretty bad in terms of like production quality. But we were just like, we're gonna make content, and it's we know enough that it's gonna be good content. And we don't know the vision yet, but that's the thing. It's like we had this back catalog content. We got this sponsor. The sponsor gave us a little bit of money, and so then it's like, okay, well, why don't we use that money to invest in the show? And then it got super easy because it's like, okay, well, now we have 20, 30 YouTube videos. We can put a small amount of money behind each of those because the campaigns where you just want to get views on your videos are so cheap. It's so cheap to get views on your videos, but it's like, hey, if we put $10-$20 behind each of our episodes, then we can see which ones are the stickiest. How far are people getting into these episodes? Like when we pay to promote it, when we pay to get eyeballs on it, which ones are people like really vibing with? Then we can make more content like that. Which ones are getting the most subscribers? We can make more content like that. And then we can take all of our dollars too and put them into like the episodes that are performing the best, meanwhile making more episodes that outperform them, so on and so forth. And that's like that's really been the key for Modern Commerce, is that it like became this snowball,
and that's where you get from the stage of survival to thrival. From surviving to thriving. Basically, like we said, you need to
stick with it.
I'll stick with it. So survival, like we said, you just got to start. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you just got to start, and you just got to make sure you don't stop. Is just as important. Just keep going. Just keep surviving.
The vision will clarify if you keep doing it.
Exactly. As long as it's, I mean, I don't want to bring destiny into it, but as long as it's something you should be doing or something you have any place doing, it could take 10 years, who knows? But you will eventually get to a point where you're like, oh, survival is just automatic now. But thrival is still on the horizon. And then it's kind of like hunting that down. And that's definitely the phase we're in on both of our shows, I'd say now. I think we've definitely surpassed the survival. Like, we don't worry about whether or not our shows are going to continue. We worry about, not even worry. We are trying to hunt down as many opportunities as possible to blow up both of our shows and make them as big as possible, whatever that means to us.
Yeah, no, and I do want to call out one thing that we thought, and this is, I think every podcaster thinks is a great growth tactic, but I'm going to say isn't maybe a great growth tactic. And I want to move then into some stuff, some things that we're struggling with, that some questions we're trying to answer right now, because that's the whole point of the series, is for it to be sort of a journey, right? So some things we're struggling with, once you get to that 75,000 download a month like zone, where will you be? And some things that we want to kind of try out, like some stuff that we're like, this is on the horizon, I think this will work. It's maybe a little bit of accountability for ourselves, right? Just for us to look back on. But the thing I want to hit on that I think a lot of people think will help their podcast grow, but is far less impactful than you think, is guests. Getting guests with a lot of reach, or getting guests that are celebrities or whatever, is not as impactful as you think. The reason I thought the marketing podcast, and I'm not going to say it hasn't helped, definitely not going to say it hasn't helped,
right?
But we've had probably, we started Modern Commerce as more of kind of an e-commerce thing, specifically talking about e-commerce brands selling physical products. We've had maybe the biggest the person who has the biggest personal brand in, e-commerce growth. I mean, this guy's he talks about growing e-commerce brands all day, every day. That's all he does. And he's got like 150,000, 250,000 Twitter followers. He's got a bunch of IG followers, all that stuff. We've had him on, and we barely saw.
Who are you talking about?
You hate this episode, so I don't know if I want to call it out.
But
Nick,
never mind.
Nick Sharma. I'm talking specifically about Nick Sharma. He's
probably
probably
one of because of anything other than my own self.
Yeah, Casey, yes. And maybe that one didn't make a blip because it's not the best content. We took a chance. We took a chance on that content, and part of this is about taking chances. So no regrets. Yeah. No regrets, number one. Regrets. But number two, yeah. You go hard in the paint and you have no regrets. But number two, sometimes it doesn't work out for you. It was a game. We played a game with him because he's kind of.
You can go back and watch it. It's the lobster pot episode.
It's the lobster pot
modeled after Shark Tank.
If you put, I'll go ahead and say, if you go to YouTube and you type "modern commerce lobster pot," I can't imagine anything else comes up for that.
I'm gonna test it right now.
Anyway, so he's one of the biggest names in the game. We've had some of the other biggest names in the game. And the reason it doesn't do as much as you think is, one, because I don't think a lot of times people are like really searching for other people unless they're huge, right? So people might be out there searching for Joe Rogan or Jordan Peterson, or I don't know, who's someone else, right? Like any kind of, did you found it?
There it is, right here.
The lobster pot with Nick Sharma.
Episode 20, pretty early on.
Pretty early on.
We didn't know. But there it is. And that thumbnail.
Oh man, it was not our best day. But it was a fun time. I don't know.
It's cringy. What's the word? It was head ass. I was head ass.
Yeah, dude. Way to do it. Way to get it in.
I'm young again.
Yeah. I'm young again. That's funny. I'll have to tag Daps. I was at Daps Sports this week, and that was where I learned that word.
Thanks,
but
Daps, all the head assness.
Yeah, that's it. Daps just teaching us all about head ass. Anyway, yeah, like we had one of the biggest, and unless it's whatever, someone huge, nobody's searching them. And if there's someone huge, they can be found in a lot of more credible places than you, right? So if people are searching them, the likelihood that they're going to come across you is not high, right? And then the other thing is, like, those people, they'll share it. I'm not saying they won't share it, but I have personal relationships. Like Nick Shackelford, I love him. I love Nick Shackelford. He's been on our show 3 times. He's been on more than anybody else. He's got a pretty big personal brand, pretty big Twitter following, pretty big IG following, pretty big LinkedIn following. He shares it. Like when we do it and we give it to him, whatever, he shares it. But like people who have that big of a following on socials, they're curating, they're careful. They're not just going to share whatever. They're relatively careful about what they post, right? They want to post stuff that their audience is going to find engaging. And so, the best way to get them to share it is to find some clip that's really engaging that they kind of want to post. But for the most part, it's like it feels transactional to them, like they're being, self-promotional, or they're promoting you or whatever. And so like Shackelford he'll share it. He'll share stuff I give him. But like he even told me the other day, like, when I accept a collaborator invite on Instagram, I usually only leave it up for a few hours. Right. And dude, I mean, I don't know. I know he's got a lot of close friends and stuff like that. But there was a time where like I was probably one of Nick Shackelford's 5 inner circle, right? One of the most people he spent the 5 most time around, or people he talked to, like top 5 people we talk to, right? And that's someone I know really well. So imagine that person you don't know really well, you get him to guest on your podcast, like, oh, I finally got whatever, Gary V or whatever. You think Gary V is going to share it? Maybe a little bit. Maybe you make 10 clips, he'll share one of them once, or if you put it in your story and tag him, he might put it on the story, but he might not accept the collaborator invite or whatever. Like they won't share it and push it as much as you think. And furthermore, when they do, it doesn't necessarily, they're doing it to make themselves look good. So they're not going to share some that makes you look good. A lot of times they're not going to call you out or tag you or whatever. Like they're mainly doing it to make themselves look good. The one thing I will say is, if you're going to do it, like just understand the platform well and understand those things that are going to like at least make them shout you out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't grow you. We still do it. We have guests on Modern Commerce. We have guests on Triple Cross. it definitely helps, right? Like we've got a guest on Triple Cross for the last couple that I think has definitely helped us, but it's
For sure.
not as big as you might think, right? So just letting you know, like focus on content, focus on your own growth engine that you can control, not other people.
I will say it's likely very different between the sports world, which is pretty massive, and the pretty niche world of, especially when we were firmly like e-commerce marketing.
A lot of them have something to
recognizability
sell
factor.
already. Yeah, a lot of them have something to sell already in the business world, so they don't want to be seen as overly salesy. You know what I mean?
You know, we don't optimize everything based off this, but like, you know, and it's not the biggest component, but we talked a little bit about organic lift, like YouTube or platforms pushing your content, you know, just into people's feeds and stuff. That's going to be harder to do with something like modern commerce or anything that's that stuff. I mean, unless that's all that person consumes, you know, then sure, maybe.
Yeah.
But even then, you're competing with a lot of things. At least in the sports world, there you get a little bit more of like, I don't know. If you're kind of on your game, you can hop on a trend a little bit more. I would say there's some athlete or some incident with an athlete or some team like that, or coach,
because we were one of the first to get a good piece of content.
That's possible. In e-commerce marketing, I'm sure there is some similarities, but I can't imagine one that's like so timely and so like nationally recognized, internationally recognizable as like a, you know, if some, you know, all-star in whatever sport gets like arrested, for example,
right.
Like that's going to be an international story.
Yep.
You know, if Shopify comes out with a new app, 10 people know about that, you know, like that's just the reality.
Nobody cares. So. Yeah. Okay. So let's move into some stuff. So I think that actually helps me because I hear so many creators and that is actually one thing with like, I would say anymore, I don't necessarily think of myself as a podcaster. I don't think of us as podcasters. And it's even really like, we're kind of, you know, we're doing this title for the SEO, you know, for podcast growth, but like, I would say that I think of us more and more as like creators or just like media, right? Like, it's like, hey, we're going to create, you know, like with Triple Cross, it's barely like we don't get that many downloads on the audio, right? Like it's mostly people joining us live. It's mostly people watching the videos. You know what I mean? So we're watching the episodes on YouTube. So I think one of the things I'm struggling with is the collaborations thing. So the thing that I just said, where it's like, look, the guests, it's not always about the guests. They're not always, you know, going to help you as much as you think they are. One of the things I think I'm struggling with is like, you know, maybe just leveraging collaborations more, because that's, I maybe think like we've missed on it. Maybe we just aren't hitting on it, right? And I mean, part of it is clips. So like, and this is what I, you know, the conversation we keep having back and forth, and just for transparency to people who are watching in the audience, right? I am not sold on the idea that like clipping up your show into reels and putting it on Instagram and putting it into YouTube shorts and stuff like that is like highly, highly impactful, even though everybody does it. But then at the same time, there's this like other side of me who's saying like, well, everybody does it, so there must be something to it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I think it's just the same thing as a lot of stuff. What you're doing when you clip stuff out, one, you're trying to make it into bite-sized content, which theoretically somebody can just kind of quickly watch your 2-3 minute video, get a sense whether they like you or not, and maybe engage further with some of your other stuff. Sure. And yeah, maybe for every one full length episode, you can have 10 clips. So you're just kind of getting 10 more opportunities, maybe, right? For somebody to see one of your videos. That's not really how it plays out, it seems like, to me, to your point. That's not really how it works. I would say like a good clip is worth making. Clipping by nature is like, okay, like not a horrible principle, but what are you sacrificing to do that? Because it's not the most easy. It takes some time to do it, is what I'm trying to say. It's pretty time consuming to clip every episode a bunch of times.
And I've been very introspective about this, because I'm like, oh man, clips are the thing. You know, if I'm sold on clips, then why haven't I just, you know, like, why haven't I just paid somebody to do it so that they'll get done? You know, and it's because I have this very ROI driven mindset about business in general, where I ask myself, like, if I'm going to pay somebody to do it, then I want there to be an ROI on it, you know, and I want to be, and that's just where I haven't necessarily found the ROI on clips yet. We've hit on some clips, and I mean, hit is relative, right? But we've had some clips do pretty well, get some attention, get some, but yeah, like I think it's just that's one of the struggles I have is like how to leverage across platforms, and that's why, full transparency, we're trying this, right? So I'm like, look, we're growing our Instagram effectively, at least on Triple Cross. On Modern Commerce, I haven't paid much attention to our Instagram because it's mostly like my personal brand on Twitter, but like that's why I'm trying this, because I'm like, oh, maybe there's a whole world where it's like you don't have to create 5, 10, 20 clips every single episode. Like you can grow your Instagram, you can create a clip or two or whatever. Like you can remain long form and make long form the main thing and just go live with it. Right. So yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things I'm struggling with. And that kind of leads to one of the ideas I have right now. So we can kind of do ideas and struggles in the same vein. One of the ideas I have right now where we kind of really fully embrace the live element. And we start going live to, like, we already stream live to YouTube for all of our podcasts, but that's purely for convenience sake, right? Like we do it so that like we record it, it's done, we download the audio, we put it on the audio.
It started for convenience, at least.
Yeah,
I would say there's other benefits now. But
now I'm kind of like, what if we just fully lean into the live thing? Since we're not doing these clips, because I'm busy, you're busy, we got crap to do. We're not doing these clips, and maybe as such, we're not leveraging collaborations like we should be. Why don't we just fully lean into the live thing, right? And we go live to IG, we go live to Twitter, we go live to YouTube, we go live to LinkedIn, and we go live to TikTok, right? And like, it's going to take a few devices because you can't multicast, or what's it called? Is it multicast? Multi-stream?
Sure. Yeah.
Simulcast.
Call it whatever we want to call it,
On IG specifically, and on TikTok, you have to be on mobile to do it. Or there's like some really hacky ways, but really to make it native, you have to be on mobile. But like, yeah, I mean, maybe the move is next time we have Nick Shackelford on, instead of trying to do clips or get him to share it afterwards, maybe it's like, dude, you don't have to share it afterward at all. I'm just going to make an IG live right now, and I'm going to invite you, and like, let's go. Right. I'm going to make I'm going to put it on Twitter as a live, or let's connect your Twitter so we can go live to your Twitter. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I'm playing with right now is the idea I want to test maybe over the next little. It's a high priority idea for me, I think, because I don't think we've fully leveraged collaborations like we can.
I'm glad we circled back to collaborations, and I guess we can file this under ideas as well. I think one of my theories, as we've done more and more collaborations with people, and the reason why it might work better on our sports show is because I guess it's not always true. Some guests we've had don't fall into this category, but the person that we have been doing stuff with recently on the sports show does content very similar to that already.
Yes.
And sometimes on this show, in Modern Commerce, and this is just the rule, there are exceptions to this for sure. But some of those people, they've been on camera, they do things like this, but they don't necessarily have like their own like weekly podcast where their following is already made up of people who like to listen to weekly podcasts.
Yeah.
So getting somebody whose audience is, I don't want to say trained, but like, for lack of a better term, getting a guest on whose audience is already trained to engage with content that is a similar format to yours is pretty huge, I think. And that's something I'll look to test more as we do more of these collaborations.
I get you. Like, so like, it could be like, in Modern Commerce, maybe the example is like, look, who do we know in this space who does a lot of IG lives, right? Or does a lot of Twitter spaces, or does a lot of Twitter, you know what I mean? Like who does like a lot of live content. And so their audience is going to be more into it.
Which is not always the people who make the best stuff either. I would say some of the people we've had on for interviews on Modern Commerce, I've been bummed out about because they don't have necessarily the same following as like a bigger guest, and we may not get as many eyeballs on it, but they've been some of my favorite interviews, like
I know, dude.
Like so many people come to mind. I'm like, wow, those ones are great. And then looking at analytics, we'll see some other episodes, with a popular person, maybe like kind of do a little bit better. And we're like, oh, if only people knew though, like if only we could be,
the way that I sleep at night is I just hope that like maybe they watched that episode with someone who's a little bit more popular, and then that led them to that other episode with that person who I'm like, they're just a banger, but they're not, they don't have a following or whatever. And that's why you want to curate your own following so you can really put people on, right?
Mm-hmm. Also, talking to other creators, that's another good way to get kind of feedback. Because like one of the ones that comes to mind, we had Sean McGinnis on the show a while back. That was episode number 38. Just looked it up. That was the first episode, I believe, of our How to Build a Brand series, which went on for months and months and months. And still, I guess it's still going on if we get other brand people on.
Every now and then, yeah.
Yeah, we'll still fill it out. But that one was honestly super good conversation. He had a lot of thoughts separate from ours, which a lot of times we kind of end up in this incestuous group of like, a lot of marketers kind of think the same way about things because there's just a lot of times the right way to think about stuff.
A lot of business idea incest out there. Yeah,
there really is. But Sean was the exact opposite of that. He was saying all the things that we weren't saying, and it, especially at the time of that was post-pandemic or during the pandemic. His business was really well equipped ahead of time for COVID. Where a lot of brands were scrambling. His was one of them.
A lot of the people in our business incest group weren't doing so great. Yeah.
Right. And we had him on, and I wish that episode should have had twice as many views. I mean, it still did fine, but like, it really.
I mean, I refer people to that episode all the time. It's like, this is the episode you need to see. You know, you might not. Might not be the one you want to see. This is the one you need to see, and I think that you get a lot of that. And that's like, honestly, one of the reasons I like the idea of podcasting. Period is. I like the idea of getting big enough to take somebody who's got great ideas, great thoughts, who's really smart and knows stuff, and put them on, but they just don't have a platform, and put them on and platform them and, you know, share those ideas with the world. But yeah, I don't mean to get too like, you know, I don't mean to get too ooey gooey here. I'm just saying, like, that's the whole point, right? Other struggles, you got any? Other struggles, other ideas.
Well, I mean, there is a particular kind of struggle with like content, like what to do, what not to do. I think that's kind of more of a standalone maybe episode at this point, like going deep down the content rabbit hole.
Up at night, like,
and that's what I think about the most.
Such a detailed way that I'm like, dude, just make the content. And he's like, but what about this? Should we do this? Should we do that? Like, oh my gosh.
Well, I think that we've seen both balls and strikes, you know, hits and misses when it comes to like really well thought out stuff, planned out, kind of. You structure it out ahead of time. You kind of have a vision for how you want it to go. And if that vision is executed, like I said, we've seen it go, wow, duh, that did great. We knew it was going to do great. We planned it out to be great. And then we've also seen it go, well, that flopped and we just wasted way more resources than we would have had we not just kind of like done it normally, you know, like, so it's not an automatic guarantee that if you spend more time thinking about something, it does better. But I will say that when it comes to stuff that's absolutely popped off, maybe got some organic growth and stuff, it does feel like there is a little bit of a connection to like maybe having a little bit more of like a vision in mind for what the final product should be, you know, like, and then really trying to execute that rather than letting it go in this, like what we're doing right now in this live kind of way. But I love the live podcasting too. We'll never stop.
I hear you, man. That was a good ramble. You feel good? You got that out?
No.
Still gonna keep
you asked me a question, so I answered it.
Dude, okay, so I think that's part of it is like really exactly like live format and like versus there's a lot of YouTubers out there and I see people sometimes I'll be like every little thing is scripted. Everyone's on Mr. Beast right now, right? Like everyone's like, oh, everyone should be listening to Mr. Beast is the best. And I'm not saying he's not. Like, look, I like Mr. Beast.
He won YouTube.
He won YouTube, but look, it's like everybody's treating it like his word is law. And I'm like, you know what Mr. Beast doesn't do is this kind of lifestyle content. So if you create that lifestyle content, what do you do? Because Mr. Beast, it's all very planned. It's meticulous, right? It's like a movie, right? And that's fine. It's a way to do it. But we don't do that. It's not our vein, but I get you. It's like, should we, right? And that is the constant struggle of creatorship or having a media company of like, should we, what's a shiny object? What's worth our time?
What is good inspiration and what is a distraction?
And what is like, I like that, but our people won't like that. There's so much of that and so much of it's subjective and it's hard to create like real feedback loops sometimes, but it's easier if you build the community around it.
Totally.
I will talk about one more struggle and then we can kind of get out. I think one more struggle I'm having is around the personal brand thing. So especially as we've got some potential upcoming deals. And I would be anybody listening right now. I will be interested if you want to hop into the chat and give me your opinion on this, or if you want to at me on Instagram or on Twitter at John JH Coyle and tell me what you think about this. We have two very different kinds of shows. So we have a business kind of like marketing e-commerce show, and then we have a sports show, right? Like just two very different things. And the whole personal brand I've created, which is not large, but the whole personal brand I've created on Twitter, especially, and on LinkedIn, is around the former, right? Like it's around that business e-commerce marketing. And I'm like, I can't just start posting sports content, but I'm going to end up getting, as we do some of these deals that are getting bigger, it's like, it's not just like the show. When people get in on you and they buy into you, they want to know how to follow you, right? So like,
right.
you know, like it's going to bleed over. And so certain things like, okay, well, I post business content from my Twitter. Like, do I need to create a second personal Twitter aside from the show, sports show Twitter? And then on Instagram, even like, I don't really even do any personal branding there, but that's where a lot of people are. It's like, that's why I'm live on my IG right now. I'm like, what do I do here? Because then the whole other thing is like, I got my kids on this thing. Like I got, you know, so should I create 2 new Instagram accounts that are like, you know, John Coyle, but the business guy, and John Coyle, but the sports guy? It feels very disingenuous to do that. Like I'm not actually living my life genuinely, but like,
for what it's worth,
that's what I'm struggling with right now. And I don't have an answer for it. So it's on my plate to be like, I got to come up with a solve for that, you know,
for what it's worth. My
got some big deals coming down the pipeline, I think. Go ahead.
If the business guy isn't already taken, I think you should absolutely jump all over that. But I'm assuming that's guy. Just scrap the John. You know,
just the business guy.
The business guy. Yeah, like if that's an IG handle that's available.
Yeah. Or like I'm here for business with a D, business. Yeah. I'm here for business.
What's the yeah, never mind. No, I mean I don't know what the answer is to that.
We don't have the answer. We've already talked about this off screen. I don't think we have the answers to this one. That's a point of this content that I want to do, is that it's like, yeah, we're going to tell you what we've done, what's worked. Like the first half of this episode is very tactical. You could follow it and you could grow a podcast. You really could grow anything with it. But like, yeah, we also kind of want to bring you on the journey of like, hey, you know, like not everybody has it figured out all the time. Here's where we are and here's what we're struggling with right now. And we don't know. And next time we talk, it might be like, oh yeah, like that. I remember when I struggled with that. I totally figured that out now. Right. Sure. Like this is actually an effect that you have if you journal. You ever look back at like 2 year ago journals or things like that? It's like, oh yeah, I remember when I was struggling with that. It's weird.
The business guy is taken. Jesse found out.
Jesse chiming in on Instagram. The business guy.
They only have 2 followers though, so maybe you could buy it pretty cheap.
I bet I could buy the handle. You know,
that's a possibility.
It seems like a meme page.
Yeah, you know, I think that we've also recently, and we can get out of here whenever you want, John. But I think the other thing we've been focusing on as we've kind of rolled out new shows, we kind of consider each sports show its own show, even though it's all under one umbrella.
Right.
So in essence, we kind of have 4 shows, and we've really liked this idea recently that like we kind of need to know what the identity of these shows are, because as we invite more people to collaborate with us and bring in more team members and just kind of adapt our processes and stuff like that, it's kind of important to remember what the show is supposed to be about. And you might say like, this show is about marketing. Maybe, kind of. It used to be about e-commerce marketing, and that was it. And then it kind of became a little bit more about business in general.
Growth. Yeah, business growth. And then it's like, what if it ever becomes about personal growth?
And I think it's still mostly marketing, but even if it's business, kind of the tagline we've landed on here is that it's the things that nobody else is going to tell you. You know, It's not always the clean cut up, like highlight reel, you know, screenshotted content that you see from all business people, basically. Ours is a little more raw, like this. We like this live conversation. We like kind of admitting like, hey, we don't know what we should be doing with social media here. Should we have separated? Should it all be together? Hopefully you're here for it, because that's what we plan to keep doing. We're here to be the business podcast that tells you stuff that the other business podcasts won't.
Yeah, and to do things a little bit differently. Live stream regular conversations. I mean, I just thought like, what if we live streamed a meeting? You know, like
what if we did a 24-hour live stream?
Yeah, of just us clicking buttons on our computer. No, but like, yeah, I mean, it's just it's that is the thing with modern commerce, I think, is like, we're going to tell you the unpopular stuff, the stuff that no one else wants to tell you, the stuff that you won't hear anywhere else, right? Like unpopular opinions, hot takes. You know, hot takes are what the kids call them. Unpopular opinions is like the professional version.
That's it.
Anyway, we've gone on for
If you're listening this long into our video, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. That is huge. Hit the like button. That's also huge. Huge for you. This is if you're on YouTube, by the way. Also, if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the bell icon. You'll get notifications for whenever we have live shows. You can jump in the live chat. We'll respond to your comments. Let's see, what else am I missing? Oh, go check out our other podcast that we've been mentioning this whole time. I know you've been here just watching us, waiting until this is over to go do that anyway, but just so that you don't forget, that is Triple Cross Podcast on YouTube. Triple Cross Podcast, I believe, is what it is on IG as well. Might be Triple Cross Pod. I know we're Triple Cross Pod on Twitter. No cast there. Yeah, John, did I miss anything?
Yeah, if you're on Instagram watching, follow ModCom Podcast, I think is that's the one Casey's live from. So I'm live from my personal one. Casey's live from ModCom Podcast. So follow us there. If you are listening on audio, if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of those other audio places, very, very helpful if you will review the show and follow the show. So specifically the reviews, we want the follow, but if you're like, nah, I don't want to hear from you ever again, then at least give us a review and tell us why. If you do want to hear it from us again, then follow us and then also leave us a review and tell us why you followed us. Yeah, dude, I think that's it. I think we can get out of here.
That's it. I just realized the people on Instagram don't know why I was dancing.
Yep.
That's okay.
We got some music pumping on the YouTube, so
that's it. Go check it out on YouTube. It all makes sense. Until then, like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things. Goodbye.
Bye.